Ryan Blaney will race against his father, Dave Blaney, later this summer. Austin Cindric's Daytona 500 winning car will in fact be on display down in Daytona Beach, and NASCAR apologizes for one of their worst missed calls yet. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. We've got a jam-packed show today. Before we get to all the latest NASCAR news and notes, this episode is sponsored by my friends at Moby. Moby is lighting up the world with their all-new beard trimmer. Check this thing out. It looks gorgeous, functional, and fashionable as well. It's how I keep my beard looking neat and tidy. Those high-quality stainless steel blades keep my beard at a nice, comfortable length. Their beard trimmer features an adjustable 5-step guide. It has built-in ultra-hygienic silicone bristles that deliver powerful sonic vibrations. It comes with a charging stand, lights up my bathroom beautifully, and it's fully waterproof. What can't Moby's beard trimmer do? It's just fun to hold in your hand, honestly. Click the link down below to find Moby at a Walmart near you. You can also order online and check out the other great Moby products they have to offer. I've gotten a lot of use out of my Moby beard trimmer in recent weeks. I know you will as well, so be sure to check them out. Thank you to Moby for sponsoring Out of the Groove. Now, we do have a lot to talk about today, but before we get to the fun stuff, I want to begin this episode by expressing my deepest condolences to the family and friends of Steven Stotts, as well as the entire DGR Racing family, and all those who were affected by the tragedy earlier this week. Yesterday, it was confirmed by the Texas Highway Patrol that David Gilliland Racing's ARCA hauler driver, Steven Stotts, was killed in a crash, transporting their car to Phoenix. Some of these images of the aftermath, obviously horrific to look at. DGR released this statement: "We are deeply saddened to confirm the passing of Steven Stotts, co-driver for our number 17 ARCA team transporter that was involved in an accident early this morning near Longview, Texas. Our deepest sympathies go out to Steven's family and friends." John Zavero and Michael Mizell, who were passengers in the transporter, have been treated and released from a local hospital. Our continued thoughts are with the driver of the second vehicle involved in the accident. I'm not going to dive into the nitty-gritty. There are police reports out there you can read for yourself, but you know, hauler drivers in many ways are the unsung heroes of the racing industry. They travel across the country multiple times a week. Honestly, it's remarkable that incidents like these don't happen more frequently. But again, my thoughts go out to everyone impacted by this tragedy. That was some very sad news earlier in the day yesterday. Now, we do have some other news, some other racing news to get to. This was a little surprising to see, but yesterday, Penske returned Austin Cindric's Daytona 500 winning car to the Motorsports Hall of Fame there in Daytona Beach, continuing the long-running tradition of each year's Daytona 500 winning car sitting on display until the next year's Daytona 500. This was a purely voluntary act by Roger Penske and Team Penske. NASCAR a few weeks ago, before the Daytona 500, said that they were going to temporarily pause this tradition due to the ongoing next-gen parts and supply shortage. Penske originally said they were going to display the car at his museum, but now they've decided to put it at the Daytona Beach Museum instead, as per tradition. Bob Pockrass reported that Team Penske didn't want to race the car again because of historical meaning. Which, I guess that part doesn't come as much of a surprise. If there's anyone in American racing who's going to look to uphold history and maintain tradition, it's Roger Penske, who has the utmost respect for really all things American motorsports. A cool gesture by them. Obviously, they must have enough cars at the shop that they're not desperate going into these next few races, but definitely going to be cool. So if you're down Daytona Beach, as per tradition, Austin Cindric's Daytona 500 winning car will be on display. Next up, I do want to hit on some very positive NASCAR news. Earlier this week, it was confirmed that Fox earned a 2.71 rating and 4.544 million viewers for Sunday's NASCAR Cup race at Vegas. As Adam Stern notes, this is up from a 2.5 rating and 4.24 million viewers for last year's third points race at Homestead, Miami. And it was the most watched sporting event of the weekend once again, even beating out Coach K's final game at Duke, which had like tickets selling for in the thousands, like at their cheapest. That's pretty big. I'm not going to dwell on ratings every week this year, but early in the season I like to talk about it a bit, especially because the beginning of 2022 has been kind of interesting. The Clash, new venue, obviously a lot of extra hype behind it, on main Fox. Got a huge ratings boost, of course. The Daytona 500 was obviously up from last year and the year before, weather-affected races, but it was down from 2019, which was a little bit of a disappointment. Auto Club was also a little down from last year's second race, the Daytona Road Course, which again, just a slight disappointment, but it seems now, maybe I'm jumping the gun, it seems now that word has gotten out that the racing racing to start this year has been phenomenal. Just ask any fan on social media at least. The NASCAR community online has largely gushed and raved about how great the racing product has been through these first few races. Las Vegas was no exception. It was a great race. Yes, we're technically comparing Las Vegas to Homestead Miami last year, but both were the third race of the season. Both were mile and a halves. This is a clear ratings win. To have Las Vegas higher than last year's Miami race, that's a definite win for sure. And hopefully a sign of more upward trends as the year goes on, as hopefully, fingers crossed, the racing continues to be competitive and entertaining. As word gets around, as the playoff picture begins to form, hopefully this bodes well for NASCAR's ratings this season. Ratings are a big deal this year. Like the actual number. I know in many ways TV ratings are somewhat dated, not always the best and most accurate metric, but they are important this year because going into 2023, NASCAR is going to start negotiating the next massive TV contract. And as we talked about a couple weeks ago, Steve Phelps, NASCAR president, still believes NASCAR is going to get an 8-10 long-term, many-year contract. An upward trend in TV ratings this year will give NASCAR a lot more leverage when they go negotiate with Fox, NBC, maybe CBS, maybe ESPN, whoever. The ratings, if they're higher, means NASCAR is in a better position to negotiate. So that number is very important this year. I'm not going to talk about it every week, but early in the season, starting to pick out trends for the rest of the year, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So good to see the Las Vegas ratings were up over last year's third race. Now we're going to pivot away from NASCAR sort of for just a moment, but the Superstar Racing Experience is continuing to make major announcements. We're just a few months away from their second season premiering, and earlier this week they announced that the final race this year in July at Sharon Speedway will be the Battle of the Blaneys. That's right, Ryan Blaney, NASCAR Cup Series star, will race in the final SRX race against his father and Sharon Speedway co-owner, Dave Blaney. Very similar to what they did last year with, Elliott's, Bill and Chase Elliott battling it out in the final race. They're trying to do the same thing with the Blaneys. I think it's going to be fun. Sharon Speedway is a 3/8 mile dirt track. We'll see how the two fare there. Battle of the Blaneys rolls off the tongue really well. I'm sure they'll sell some t-shirts. I don't know that I'm as excited for this as I was for the Elliott versus Elliott deal. No disrespect to Ryan or Dave Blaney, but in the Elliott versus Elliott deal, you had two NASCAR champions going at it. Blaney might win a championship someday, but Dave never won a NASCAR championship. Obviously, he's a great dirt racer, fantastic race car driver all around, but didn't have the success in NASCAR that the Elliots or that so far his son Ryan has had. So while it sounds good on paper, while it rolls off the tongue nicely, it's, not quite as exciting to me as seeing Bill Elliott race against his son was last year at Nashville Fairgrounds, especially when he was actually competitive. So we'll see how it goes. I'm still excited for it, but it doesn't have quite the same punch, in my opinion, that the Elliott versus Elliott thing did last year. But share your thoughts down below. Still gonna be cool to see another father-son duo. Blaney, which is a household name in the racing community. I think it'll be great, but share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Now, lastly, we're gonna bring it back to NASCAR for a second. We're gonna talk trucks. This story didn't get a ton of national attention until an article I read yesterday from NBC Sports came out from Dustin Long. I know a couple of y'all sent me this video clip we're about to watch, but I was waiting for the right time to talk about it, and the time is now. Dustin Long for NBC writes, a NASCAR official says meetings will continue Tuesday to ensure that what happened at the end of last Friday's Camping World Truck Series race, quote, never ever happens again. Whoa, what is he talking about here? Well, late in Friday night's Truck Series race at Las Vegas, there was a crash with 2 laps to go. Spencer Boyd went spinning on the backstretch and collided hard with the inside safer barrier wall. Now, NASCAR didn't throw the caution, didn't throw the yellow flag at all. In fact, racing continued for a whole nother lap and a half until a different incident caused NASCAR to throw the caution kind of at the checkered. Here's the onboard video. This was actually posted to YouTube by NASCAR Gavin 8. You can see here out in front, that truck goes sliding, hits the inside wall. That's pretty hard. A lot of smoke, definitely hit the wall hard, but let's fast forward. A whole nother lap goes by. In fact, he comes back around and NASCAR Gavin 8 zooms in for us, and you can see the truck still sitting there in smoke, practically in pieces, but NASCAR didn't throw the caution. Now, that in and itself looks bad, but what makes this incident look even worse on NASCAR is the fact that Spencer Boyd actually suffered a dislocated shoulder in the crash. Now, he told reporters after the race that he should be okay to race in the next truck race at Atlanta here in a couple weeks, but still a significant, substantial injury sustained that didn't warrant a caution from NASCAR. Who was asleep at the switch? Fans, and I'm sure many within NASCAR, were rightfully outraged at this. How could NASCAR let a guy smack the inside wall that hard and just sit there for 2 laps without NASCAR even throwing a yellow? Well, NASCAR's Elton Sawyer was on SiriusXM NASCAR radio yesterday morning. He was on the morning drive, and he acknowledged this incident. Here's what he said.
First and foremost, we're glad that Spencer's okay. Second, that's on us. We have to own that as the sanctioning body. We have meetings post-event, to look at our process and procedure and what we need to do to be better. And we have more meetings today to put more process in place to make sure that never, ever happens again.
So I have a couple reactions to that. It's kind of vague what he's saying there, but firstly, credit to NASCAR for owning it. Now, we've seen the clip. It was pretty obvious, pretty egregious. It'd be difficult to hide from it even if they wanted to. But NASCAR has had excellent safety records these past couple of decades, so credit to them for stepping up and saying something when they, acknowledged they did not meet their expectations. Secondly, I don't think this was an entertainment kind of thing. NASCAR's had a bad habit in the past of inconsistently throwing or not throwing cautions depending on what's going on in the race to maybe play up a certain storyline or let them race back to the checkered, whatever. Yes, this happened with 2 laps to go late in the race as the win was on the line, but I don't think that's what this was. I think they genuinely did not see Spencer Boyd sitting there. Either they didn't have enough cameras or enough people around the track to see it. Maybe the people they did have were not stationed in a good spot, and that's the kind of thing that Elton Sawyer was talking about they can improve on. I don't think anyone saw Spencer Boyd and said, nah, let's keep it green. Let's not press the button. I think if they'd seen Spencer Boyd there, they would have thrown the caution, so I think he just slipped past their vision somehow, some way. If someone did have a view of Spencer Boyd and they didn't see him or they didn't throw the caution, then yeah, obviously some changes should be made there, but I don't think that's the case. Again, maybe NASCAR could do a better job of positioning their officials around the track in more visible spots where they have a better, clear view of every nook and cranny of the track, but I think they could also invest in just more resources overall. Maybe they just need more officials, more cameras. I know in the case of NASCAR, for truck races, we've seen longer cleanup periods, slower response time, like they just have less personnel, less officials on the ground, less safety people. Trucks don't bring in as much money, so NASCAR maybe can't afford or is unwilling to pay for extra track personnel. Cup races, it's all hands on deck. Trucks, and maybe to an extent Xfinity, it's not so much that. It's more of a skeleton crew, if you will. That should change. That's another thing NASCAR should be looking at. So that's my reaction to this deal. Believe me, I've been hard on NASCAR race control in the past year for instance where I think they were trying to manipulate the race via throwing or not throwing a caution. I don't think that's what happened here. I think this was just an honest mistake. They did not see him. It's not an excuse. That certainly means they need to change some things. Like, I shouldn't slam the wall at 150 miles an hour and sit there for 2 laps. But at least NASCAR is acknowledging the problem. And what does the old saying go? Acknowledging a problem is the first step to solving it or fixing it. So hopefully going forward, NASCAR, especially for these truck races, they have enough people, they have the right people in the right places, the right number of cameras. Hopefully they make all the proper changes to ensure something like this does not slip through the cracks again. I mean, I'm sure all you guys are all thinking about it. Just in the last year alone, the truck series has had some questionable officiating moments. Like, who was the truck stalled in turn 4 last year that got nailed? Like, how did that go without a caution? See, I don't think it's having the officials necessarily in the right spots. I think it's just not having enough officials or not enough cameras or someone's asleep at the switch. Something needs to change. I'm glad NASCAR is at least acknowledging it, but acknowledging the problem and fixing the problem are 2 different things. One step leads to the other. Let's make this second step happen. We got to fix this problem. You can't have a guy sitting with a dislocated shoulder for 2 laps while everyone's still racing at full speed around him. That's inexcusable. NASCAR seems to be acknowledging that. Now they got to fix it. Anyway, share your thoughts down in the comment section below, how you feel about that incident, about all the things we talked about in today's episode. Yeah, we covered a lot of topics. It was a busy week. Obviously, yesterday I was very busy with a very exciting announcement. If you missed it, my favorite band, Ghost, is coming to NASCAR. They're going to sponsor Bailey Curry in the Xfinity Series this weekend at Phoenix. Yeah, the Groove logo is a small part of the paint scheme as well. I got to be a part of the announcement, which was kind of a dream come true to work with some of their creative team to make that happen. Never thought when I started this YouTube channel or this show that I'd be one day working with my favorite band to introduce them to stock car racing. Like, that's pretty wild. I appreciate all the feedback and all the messages of support. I read basically every comment on my social medias, on Ghost Social. I read thousands of comments yesterday. Really appreciate all the feedback, all the support. Cool to see that much excitement. I know I'm excited. I'm glad many of you are excited as well. But that's gonna do it for this episode. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We talk NASCAR day in and day out here on Out of the Groove. I'll be in Phoenix this weekend. Can't wait to see you there. And that wouldn't be possible without the great support I get from you guys on Patreon. I really, truly appreciate it. Should have some other content coming out while I'm in Phoenix this weekend. I will see you all again very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for the support.